Don't misinterpret the message of the vocal injured worker as that of unstable minds. The expectation of these few outspoken folks is that the work comp system would treat them fairly, without discrimination, and that they would be provided services to assist their return to normalcy. DePaolo's World Thoughts and Impressions on Workers' Compensation and Life. Thursday, October 2, 2014. Work comp and baseball. I was watching the Oakland's versus the Kansas City Royals game on television the other night. Kansas City tied up the game and I went to bed so I could write this blog in the morning, and good thing, the game remained tied until the 12th inning, where the Royals scored the winning hit at the bottom of the inning, far past my bedtime. The player securing the win for the Royals, Salvador Perez, had 6 at-bats but didn't hit anything until his last, when he knocked in a single. In fact, his prior at-bat he whiffed so bad even I could tell the pitch was way outside the zone. My buddy, a baseball aficionado, explained to me the next day, baseball is a game based on failure. A great hitter hits .300. He fails 7 out of every 10 attempts. The odds are so great against the batter in baseball that hitting a pitch less than a third of the time is considered great. Sometimes it seems that workers' compensation is like a batter in baseball. The odds of a positive outcome seem so enormous that when one occurs it's great. Workers' compensation, like baseball, requires a big team. There's the sale, i.e. brokers. There's policy underwriting and administration, people that consider the risks and price coverage accordingly. There's the employer, which precipitates work comp in the first place. Doctors are needed to treat, attorneys bring and manage disputes. Claims administrators are necessary to keep the claim moving. There are a whole host of other providers performing all sorts of other specialty services. Batting .300. And then of course there's the injured worker. More often than not, of course, the injured worker gets taken care of. Yes, there are way too many cases that are wrongfully denied, where treatment is inexcusably delayed, where benefits should be provided but aren't, but most of the time, likely far more than 80% of the time, a claim moves relatively smoothly through the process. There are, however, claims that are difficult from the very outset. Sometimes we hear about them, but most of the time we don't. The ones that we do hear about get dismissed from our conscience too easily because the melodrama in their vocalization of what's wrong gets drowned by our own jaded pessimism. These cases, though, are real. There are real people behind these cases. People get hurt. People get toyed with. People don't get what is needed, what is promised in the grand bargain, and set aside as disturbed and having unrealistic expectations. Some contact me because of this blog, seeking answers, help and remedies. I have met some, like Linda Ayers. I won't get into Linda's case here, that's not the point. Linda is vocal, like a few other injured workers. She has a blog, she is active in social media, she posts comments to this blog. And she probably drives the defense crazy, as she is prolifically passionate about making sure the system works for her and for other injured workers. It's easy to dismiss Linda's activities as the rantings of an unstable person, but she is not an unstable person. She is a person whose case spiraled out of control from the beginning, and we know that the early stages of a claim are the most critical. There's Darren Fonzo and Cecilia Watt, more vocal injured workers seeking stabilization of their claims, timely payment of benefits and authorization of medical treatment. Darren writes prolifically, adding a comment to this blog nearly every post, supporting me sometimes, excoriating me sometimes, but always visible, seeking answers, questioning actions. Cecilia isn't as prolific, but she is vocal nonetheless. These are the folks that stepped up to the plate and got delivered lousy pitches, swing and a miss. At some point there will be 3 strikes and they'll be out and the next batter will step up. On rare occasions they'll be walked, and off they go to first base, hoping for subsequent base hits to drive them home. But we know that baseball is a game of failure. Work comp shouldn't be. Yes, most claims terminate successfully. The claims that don't are in the minority. We think of claims as numbers and forget that people are behind these claims. They're easier for us to deal with emotionally when they are just numbers, and I understand that. I was a defense attorney for many, many years and have had my share of dealing with pro-per claimants. Don't misinterpret the message of the vocal injured worker as that of unstable minds. The expectation of these few outspoken folks is that the work comp system would treat them fairly, without discrimination, and that they would be provided services to assist their return to normalcy. It's easy to tell these folks to move on, to not live their claims. Until you live their claim, though, you wouldn't understand. The great Jerry Spence, one of the most celebrated trial lawyers of all time and founder of a trial lawyers college, teaches the experiential method of trial presentation. That is, the lawyer is simply a storyteller, How can one tell the story well unless he or she lives the story for a week, steps into the shoes of the plaintiff to actually see and feel how an injury has affected the person's life? Before dismissing the vocal few, and there are quite a few, more than you might expect, hear their stories. Yes, there's the other side. There always is another side of a story. Sometimes we fail to listen to both sides of the story though. Telling is easy. Listening is hard. In baseball, the manager of the team listens to each and every player and watches carefully how the game unfolds. Even when the game goes sideways, the manager doesn't want to pull the pitcher, but sometimes a reliever must be brought in to get the game back on track. And at some point the game comes to an end, usually without going into overtime. When a game does go into overtime, the players must also go into overtime. That means working harder to get a conclusion.
Calling from the Rose Show.
Yeah, I'm trying to call in and talk to Randy Rhodes.
Oh, you got us. You found us. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That's beautiful. What's your name?
Darren?
Darren. Where are you calling from, sir?
Washington State.
All right. What do you want to speak about today?
I'd like to talk about workers' compensation whistleblowers and the failure of the liberal left to put on the table the minimum federal standards that Senator Sanders and Patty Murray and Tom Perez all told us we needed in a letter to OSHA and to the Department of Labor 4 years ago. So for 4 years, American injured workers have been failed by the liberal left. I'd like to know why.
All right. And you said your name was Darren?
Yes.
Got it. All right. Hold on.
All right, thanks.
It says, prepare to die, and then he says he's going to take his dog Bianca away from him. All right, Darren in Washington.
Yeah, hi. I was wanting to ask you some questions. I'm all for whistleblowers, and I'm a lifelong Democrat. So you supporting whistleblowers, that rocks. But when it comes to work comp whistleblowers asking for minimum federal oversight that Senator Sanders and Patty Murray and Tom Perez told us injured workers we need, my liberal left seems to be running from me on that issue. Could you please tell me why?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you?
Yeah, I'm talking about minimum federal oversight for injured workers and work comp whistleblowers, ma'am.
Work comp whistleblowers? Can I have a name of somebody that you'd like me to look up?
Darren Fonso. I'm talking to you, ma'am. I'm a work comp pensioner out of the state of Washington who went through work comp hell.
Yeah, but which whistleblower should I look up to see the story?
Which whistleblower? I'm blowing the whistle right now to you, ma'am.
Welcome back. Tom Hartman here with you, and it's Anything Goes Friday. Darren in Everett, Washington, watching us on Facebook Live. Hey, Darren, what's up?
Hey, I want to talk about a war on injured workers and how it's adding to homelessness and inequality here in America. That back in 2015, OSHA and Senator Sanders and NPR all told us, and the U.S. Department of Labor with Tom Perez all come out and told us we need some minimum federal standards over these broken state work comp systems. Yet 3 years later, the left is silent, and I'm begging for help here as an injured worker in the state of Washington who has been abused and harmed. Yet I have our revolution not wanting to put this issue and Senator Sanders' solutions on the table. And I would like to know why the left basically is failing us at this time.
I don't know the answer to your question, Darren, and I'm sorry to hear about your circumstances. I hope you get through it. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Washington State Auditor Brian Sontag. November 21, 2012. Dear Mr. Fonzo, thank you for your report asserting improper governmental action at the University of Washington. Specifically, you assert that a conflict of interest exists between doctors, patients, and health maintenance organization. Under the Whistleblower Act, Chapter 42.40 RCW, only current state employees may file assertions of improper governmental action at state agencies with the state auditor's office. Because you are not a state employee, we are unable to open a case under the provisions of the Whistleblower Act. If you have any questions, please contact Special Investigations Major Kim Hurley at 360-725-5352 or me at 360-902-0372. Sincerely, James E. Britton, CPA CFE Director of Special Investigations.
University of Washington Medical Center. Employee of the Month 2010. The Employee of the Month Award is presented monthly to a UWMC staff member who exemplifies our ARISE values. Darren Fonciao. Hospital Assistant. Resource Team. Flood Pool. Accountability. Darren can be counted upon to care for acutely ill patients by taking accurate measurements and documenting this data so providers can make decisions about a patient's care. He does not need to be reminded to implement interventions known to prevent harm to patients within his scope of practice. He can be counted upon to take initiative when caught up with his assigned tasks to look around and find things that need to be done. Respect. Darren represents how to show respect to patients and families at UWMC. I have observed him interact with several patients when he has worked on 7NE. One patient was confused and required close monitoring for safety concerns. Darren was very gentle and respectful when caring for this patient and was very mindful of their dignity. His interactions with other UWMC staff are always professional. Innovation. Referencing the confused patient with whom Darren worked for at least 3 shifts, he was creative in adjusting his interactions when caring for this patient in a way that created a calm environment. 2 different RNs working with this patient mentioned to me that the patient was so much calmer when Darren came on shift. Service. By the above example, Darren exemplifies the type of service we would like to see provided by all UWMC employees. Several RNs that have worked with Darren and I have observed him in action and would love to clone him. Excellence. Darren does not do just the minimum that is required for safely caring for acutely ill patients at UWMC. He communicates respectfully with other members of the interdisciplinary team, and we are confident in his skills and know he will ask questions or express concerns if he has them. Any patients and family members that interact with Darren will feel well cared for and feel they have had a positive experience at UWMC.
Under the Whistleblower Act, Chapter 42.40 RCW, only current state employees may file assertions of improper governmental action at state agencies with the State Auditor's Office.
There's no excuse. Every human ought to order abuse. Stand up, make the choice. Speak up, and use your voice. Austerity, killing me. Everyone knows no appreciate go. Take away your liberties. Try and sell it to you, live in a land of quality. All I can say is that this too good of austerity is getting me. Oh, no. Stand up and make a choice. Speak up and use your voice. Shout out and pour the fist. Anytime that you see it used. Or not to, there's no excuse. Every human ought to do all of you. Stand up choice. Speak up, use your voice. Shout out, all our miracles. Anytime you see it, not to, there's no excuse. Every human ought to born on me blues. Stand up, make a show, think out, and use your voice. Shout out, report our news. Anytime you see it in news. Not to, there's no excuse. Every human ought to be all of you. This oppression, here as it goes, they take away your liberties. Try to sell it to you, each living land equality. All I can say is, it's not me. Your do-good austerity is killing me. Stand up, make a choice. Speak up, use your voice.